we're there to fire people up. Like when I look out from the stage and I see a whole bunch of people that are forgetting their worries for 45 minutes to an hour or whatever, and they're having a great time. That's what it's all about, man.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now.
Pete of Striker, thank you so much for your time today. ULTRAPOWER, 5 years in the making. It's finally here, or it'll be here in February. Or are you more like I'll believe it when I see it after all this time? Like what's your mindset right now?
Now it's coming. First of all, thanks for having me, by the way. It's nice of you to call me up and have me here. Yeah, no, it's happening. It's not far off. It's on the horizon. It's like if you were looking at the ocean from the beach, you would see the corner of it just poking up over the water in the distance. So it's,
okay.
It's really happening. This is the first album that I have had the full experience taking part in the creation of.
Yeah.
So I came into the band almost immediately after Play to Win was released.
Right.
And so I toured that album extensively with the band, but I was not actually on it. So this time around, it's extremely exciting for me because before I joined the band, you know, I knew some of the guys already, just from being from around the area. But this time around, I was, you know, more involved in the entire process. So I'm pretty emotionally invested in it, I guess you could say.
Now, hey, we talked just after the holidays, and last time I got to talk to the Striker guys, just not you. I think Dan said it was around Canada Day, and he basically just said like, hey, you know, yeah, Canada Day. When I asked him what it meant to him, he basically said, well, it's just a sweet day off to drink some beer. So we just come off of a couple of different holidays. How did you experience those?
They were also good excuses to drink beer. One of them, excuse to drink beer with the family. The other one, excuse to drink beer with your friends.
There you go.
I'm good for anything festive, man. If there's an opportunity to kind of cut loose and, you know, drop off the usual grind for a night and you know, just cut loose, let off some steam with your pals or your family, I love that.
You know, we're talking about having a good time. Striker, now even more than ever before, and maybe that's your, you know, influence in joining the band. But if there's one word that sums up this album and everything around it, it's fun. This album is a ton of fun. I had a chance to listen to the full album already. There's a lot of fun things coming, some surprises, and we'll get to that in just a second. Now, Play to Win, you know, already was a far cry from the keg that crushed New York, if you will. But is this new cycle the true return to just pure fun for Striker?
Well, as far as I've known the band, it's always been about fun.
Right.
I think. I mean, even before I came along, I think, you know, even back in the day, like my old bands, we used to play with Striker when they first started. And they were always a bunch of fun guys, you know, hanging out in the parking lot, having beers, listening to Sabotage. And we'd roll up in our band and be like, oh man, these guys look like a blast, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that's still what it's mainly all about, is enjoying heavy metal music, enjoying rock music. And I don't think there's anything that any of us like more than getting together with your friends, having a couple beers, and, you know, writing music that is reminiscent of the stuff that you've always loved, but, you know, also injecting a bit of modernity into it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it's all about. And I think this album we consciously focused on that. We're like, yo, because we got to do a lot of the business stuff too, right? Being an independent band, and sometimes it can get to where it feels like, oh man, we're doing everything but making music. Like, this sucks. So we're like, man, we got to do some of that. We got some new partners we're working with or are going to be working with this time around. But we really wanted to focus on that. It's like, yo, what kind of band are we? Yo, we're the fun dudes. Like, when we get on stage, we go wild. We're fun, right? Like, we put on a show. It's entertainment, man. We're there to fire people up. Like, when I look out from the stage and I see a whole bunch of people that are forgetting their worries for 45 minutes to an hour or whatever, and they're having a great time, that's what it's all about, man.
I hear what you say, like, oh, we just, rock and roll should be about fun. We need to give people that good time. But at the same time, it can be a double-edged sword, because if you guys now all of a sudden, if you're inspired and you come up with a fantastic song that tackles philosophical or political elements, all of a sudden that would be very weird for Stryker, and then it would be like Sabaton not singing about war. Is that something that's sometimes on your mind?
That might be even a better question for Dan, because he does a lot of the lyric writing.
Right.
But I mean, we all pitch in on it too, here and there. And I think most of us, we're not like super political people. Like, I don't think any of us I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I don't think any of us really veer too far left or too far right or anything. We're all fairly moderate, I think. We like extreme sounds. We like, extreme sports. We like, extreme stuff, but extreme politics isn't that much fun, right?
Right.
It's, I don't know, man. I think if we all had a song and we all felt like we had something we wanted to say and we really felt strongly about it, maybe we would. But for now, that we feel strong about is, you only live once, man. Have a good time, right?
Yeah. Well, to use that as a beautiful segue of you only live once, let's go to the Circle of Evil video, where people stop living, if you will, inspired by a lot of fun 80s slasher horror. A lot of those movies that your video clip was inspired by, from the 80s and the early 90s, had heavy metal soundtracks, and often with original songs, Bordello of Blood comes to mind, Trick or Treat comes to mind. I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that everybody in the band is a big, 80s horror fan. So is there a specific one or a specific soundtrack of one that stood out for you, that has inspired you?
That's tough. Oh man, there's a lot of good cult classics out there. Okay, so I like a little bit of comedy mixed in with my horror.
Okay, like Toxic Avenger and stuff like that, or
with my heavy metal sometimes. I'm gonna have to go say my favorite cult classic horror movie is Frankenhooker.
The makers of Basket Case and Brain Damage bring you.
Want a date?
Frankenhooker.
About this guy who I think he loses his girlfriend, or no, his girlfriend dies or something. Anyway, he goes and he's trying to bring this girl back to life. So he goes and he gets a bunch of prostitutes and chops them up and takes the best parts and sews them all together and makes this brand new girl. And she escapes, and because she still has the hooker brain, goes out on the street and tries to hook, but she's a zombie now. It's a mess.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, we obviously see also like a villain that is, cutting you guys up one by one in the video. Did anybody stop to ask if he can drum? Because that could be beneficial.
No, the evil guy. He's the evil guy from the music industry. There's always some snake out there trying to cut your throat. So that's who that guy is.
Arcade games and shows like Airwolf were a big part of your youth?
Oh yeah, arcade games were sick. For me, arcades were like I had an older brother, 10 years older than me. So when heavy metal was having its big heyday, when it kind of first was coming out, he was a teenager, right? So when I got to go hang out with him and he'd go to the arcade, like the actual 80s arcade, I was just a little kid.
Yeah.
But man, everything was so cool to me then. And yeah, I think I just never got over that, man.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if we go back to the music, and it's not just the imagery that shows a love for 80s and 90s, but the music itself as well. When I think about a song like "Give It All," which is a really cool anthem, which will do really well live, that's one of those songs that just channels that 80s vibe straight away, because we get a saxophone solo, which is a staple of 80s rock. If we look at like the Bon Jovis, the Motley Crues, and so on, they are slowly but steadily retiring. There's a hole to be filled there. Is that what you're aiming at?
There's a joke in there about filling holes somewhere. Let's not do that. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us in the band, myself definitely, I love the more rock-based metal.
Yeah.
The stuff that comes from, I like the big arena choruses of vocals, and the huge drum sounds, right? And I think that's what a lot of, like, I love all kinds of metal.
Yeah.
You give me punk, rock, metal, funk, I can probably enjoy it. But that's where my heart really lies, is the big Def Leppard anthems, right?
Yeah. Is it in an interesting way also that Stryker had to mature so that the band would be comfortable and confident in adopting more of that rock-based metal sound? Like 10 years ago, Stryker was trying to be the fastest speed power metal band in Canada, and I'm sure if anyone at that point had said, like, hey, let's allow a little bit more Whitesnake and Bon Jovi into our sound, it would have been like, that's not metal. And was that a mentality, or was that some sort of maturity that had to grow with the band? I mean, I know that you followed the band from the outside first and now from the inside. What's your take on that?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to get a very different answer from me from that with that question than other members who've been there longer. But yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of bands, as they mature, they start to explore, like, as a band, but as individuals within the band too, their own boundaries on their instrument, or their own boundaries on what they're doing. And I think with somebody who's a talented vocalist like Dan, he's probably gone and explored, how else can I use this voice, right? I mean, I know I would. Like my bass, for example, too. How can I put some slappy stuff? How can I funk it up even?
Yeah.
What else can I bring to heavy metal, or what else can I bring to this music that wasn't there before? How can we evolve? And I think also, being in bands and doing something for a long time, you start to want to, not do the same thing. Your tastes change. Well, maybe they don't, but you don't want to make the same album 10 times in a row, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, the new wave of traditional heavy metal is great. I love the movement. I love all the music. There's so many great bands out there. But I think us too, we're really big fans of really high quality modern production that sometimes comes more from the pop world or something, perhaps. But the great thing that, like, a big thing for me is, I get lots of people 10 years older than me who are, they grew up with the Guns N' Roses, they grew up with the Def Leppard, they grew up with the Megadeth, and that was their music of their generation and whatnot. And they complain there's no bands that make music like that anymore. Well, it's like, yes, there are. They're all over the place, but now you got to search for them. They're not on much music. They're not on the radio all day. You got to look for the shit. But dude, there's bands in Europe, there's bands in America, there's bands in Canada, there's bands everywhere doing that exact same style of music. But now we have technology's evolved incredibly since then, so that you have the ability to make your music sound so much more pristine. Which to some people, for better or for worse, right?
Right.
But to me, it's like, man, we got all those great bands, just like the ones that were in the 80s, in the 90s, but they sound better now.
You know, having a saxophone solo is already one surprise. There's other surprises on the album. I don't want to give away too much for people that haven't had a chance to listen to the album yet. Let's just say that for all the right reasons, I keep my fingers crossed for. I kind of expect to see still a video for Blood Magic, because just the themes that you guys create in the sound opens up so many possibilities for cool stuff. Is there some truth to that? Should I keep my fingers crossed, or am I wishful thinking here?
Well, all I can tell you is that I would also love to shoot a music video for that song, because yes, it does open up visual venues that we have not explored in the past.
Exactly.
And I think that would be a lot of fun. So I would like to. And when it comes to the discussions within the band of whether or not we will shoot a music video for that, I'm on your side.
You know, shows are gonna come. Some shows have already been announced, but you know, we're just the start of 2024 here. Obviously, in February we'll get the album. For all of the fans out there, what can we keep our fingers crossed and our eyes open for the rest of the year?
More content from us, more music videos. We're gonna have a couple more of those come out, drop some singles. Of course, the album. Yes, there will be some shows. We are working on getting plans in place for bigger tours, and we can't say anything at the moment. But we are working with some new people, and there will be more shows. Absolutely. Awesome. But in the meantime, the two that we have up, I think right now, a couple of festivals in the States. Yeah, if you're nearby those, don't miss them.
There we go. Pete, thank you so much for your time here on a Friday even. Look at that, making time for people like me. Love it. Thank you so much. This is going to be an extremely fun release, and even though you guys have already, or the band has already over the years experienced with or evolved the sound, I think the biggest surprises that Stryker has ever given us are coming with this album, and I think they're going to be very well received, and it's going to be a fun show. So I look forward to those shows that you have and have not yet announced, and I'm sure we'll see you on many stages this year still. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Desiree.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.